Hey y'all, Katie here with Team EvoAZ at eXp Realty. Thank you so much for listening to our show. We are super excited for this season. As you know, we are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, but what you may not have known is that we're growing our team nationwide, and we have already started. So if you know of anybody that is looking to buy or sell throughout the country, no matter what state it's in, please contact us. We'd be happy to help. We'd be happy to offer advice. And if you know of anybody that is either getting into the real estate industry or is looking for an awesome change in their career and in their lives, we are also hiring real estate agents across the country. Thanks again and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, it is R.E.A.L with Katie and Matt, and you might notice that it's just Katie today. So you see Katie, but you don't see Matt, and that's okay because Matt is unfortunately unable to be here with us today, but thank you so much, JD, aka the New Build Ninja. We have JD also with Team EvoAZ on with us today.
Hi guys.
So hi. How's it going today?
Good. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm super excited to have you on because I think you're the perfect guest or the perfect co-host for our guest today. And our guest today is Erika Romero with Top Notch Landscaping, who we've known for, I'm not even going to try it because I don't even know how many years we've been in each other's lives. But yes, quite a while we've known Erika and her awesome hubby, John. They own Top Notch Landscaping here in the Valley, mostly East Valley focused. Erika, yes?
That's right.
Yeah, so mostly out of the East Valley, but gosh, I mean, we've been working together for quite some time, and I know, JD, that they have done a lot of work for you over at your house as well.
They installed a backyard for it, they put everything in, and then I had them rip it out recently, and then put in a pool, and then put it back together.
Gotta love your landscaper when you have them come replace what they just did like 6 months ago, you know?
Yeah, they're like, oh, you again?
No, that's awesome. So in case our audience doesn't know, Matt is my husband and he and I are here every other week and we are talking about everything real estate and life, which is what R.E.A.L stands for, R.E.A.L. So every other week we do a market update. So stay tuned for that. In 2 weeks, we'll have a market update for you. And that's the greater Phoenix area. So super, super local market update. And then on the off weeks, we like to have awesome guests like Erika so that we can share with our audience all these different tips and tricks in everything household. So Erika, I have a couple of questions for you today. And the first one is something that I know that we've talked about a bunch in the past. And being here in Arizona, it gets hot. And people don't necessarily want to be out taking care of their plants certain time of year. So a lot of people, and also we have snowbirds, right? So they're not even here most of that time. So a lot of people go after low maintenance landscaping so that they just can set it and forget it. It looks beautiful. They don't have to worry too much about it and don't really have to maintain it. So tell us a little bit, A, what is low maintenance landscaping for those of us that don't know, and B, some plants to consider, maybe the most popular plants that people tend to get.
Absolutely. So for low maintenance, you're probably looking for something that doesn't require a whole lot of trimming or cleanup, something that's not going to drop a lot of leaves or flowers or debris. And then something that you don't have to tend to or constantly change your irrigation settings for, that's going to be like a low water desert tolerant plant. Those are what we typically consider as low maintenance. A lot of the popular choices here for shrubs are going to be like a green hopseed or an Indian hawthorn. Most of the time for new builds, you're going to see a lot of lantana planted as well. Those give a nice little pop of color with those flowers. I personally really like the Indian hawthorn. It gives some nice pink flowers and they have like a really broad leaf on them. Also one of my favorites I think we planted for JD was the boxwood beauties. Did we plant those at your house? Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, those are one of my favorites because they're so deep green, and then when those white flowers bloom, it just gives that cute little pop of color on the green, and those are some of my favorites also.
Awesome. And the lantanas, are those the orange flowers?
They come in yellow, a mixture of like red, orange, and there's also white and purple.
Ah, okay. I'm wondering if that, one of my most favorite desert plants, so I like succulents quite a bit. Succulents would count for low maintenance, right?
Absolutely. Lady slipper is a really great choice for succulents. It looks kind of like green fingers sticking up out of the ground. They're tall green spikes. Also, elephant food, particularly if you plant it in a planter or a pot, as it grows, it kind of like spills over the planter and it like waterfalls down the side, and that's really pretty.
I agree. I love elephant's food. That's my favorite succulent. And then I don't know if it's lantana, and maybe I won't even describe it right, but it's a green bush, doesn't get too huge, but it's got all these little purple flowers on it. I have one of those at one of my properties, and I always wondered what it was. It's
Is that
gorgeous.
what we have in the front, I think?
You're not talking about bougainvillea, right? They
Nope.
shed. Okay. I'm trying to think. There's hibiscus that makes like really nice red or orange flowers, sometimes yellow.
Whatever
There's so many
in our front yard has purple, because it's like all purple right now. I don't know. It's like the big bushes that the house came with.
Oh, the Texas sage or Texas rain. Yes.
That's what it is.
Those are pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are super pretty. Favorite color, purple. So like I could have those at my house all day long. I do have a ton of bougainvillea. That does not fall under the low maintenance landscape as far as I'm concerned, because it is very much the opposite of low maintenance. My pool guy is always like, you got to clean your pool out like twice a day because it's super windy in Ahwatukee, because the bougainvillea just shed. It doesn't even matter what time of year it is. It's just pink flowers everywhere. So yeah, bougainvillea, not low maintenance, everybody. Let's talk about my second favorite low maintenance backyard amenity. I guess you could call it an amenity. And that is artificial grass. Now I know, JD, you have that too.
Yes, I love it.
I have it, but I have an older version, Erika, right? Like mine's got to be like 10 years old or something like that.
Right.
And so there are a few myths out there that I think, well, they didn't used to be myths, because I have the older version artificial grass, so I know what people are talking about. But with the, technology changes, but with the newer grass, which JD has, a lot of people worry that if they have a dog, that it's going to have that pet smell. Like when you go outside and try and enjoy your pool or whatever, you're going to have a pet smell. Is that true these days?
So it can still be true depending on who's installing your synthetic grass and what they're using. So the reason why a synthetic grass will smell from pets is because of the infill that was used. And most companies will use a silica sand or similar material to infill the grass. And what that means is it's like a sand that you pour on top of the grass, and it helps those blades to stand up straight. And instead of flopping over like it would naturally do. So the silica sand is going to, if a pet urinates on the area, it's going to keep that odor right there, and you're going to smell it all the time. So for somebody who's already had synthetic grass installed and you're having that urine smell, there is a product that you could pick up. It's called PE51. It's like this little bottle of enzymes and antibacterial kind of chemicals in there. You hook it onto your hose and you can spray it all over your synthetic grass, and hopefully that will treat the smell issue. But if it's been a while and your pets have been going on the area for some time, that's already penetrated down into the base material, which is the road base that we use underneath the synthetic grass. And if at that point you're going to need to take out all of that base material and replace it in order to get rid of the smell. But for us, what we do to completely avoid that issue altogether is we use a product called EnviroFill, and it's an infill that is specifically for pet odor issues. And it's embedded with microbands, so it already has antibacterial properties and enzymes in it. If a pet uses the bathroom on the area, it's going to neutralize that odor and you're not going to smell it. So we do that actually on every single synthetic grass install, whether the customer has pets or not, because what if you get a pet in the future, or like you sell your home and the new owners have pets? You don't want the smell to ever be an issue. So we do it on every job, and we don't charge any extra for that. That's just something that's really important to us.
So
That's awesome.
I have a question. So if you have the infill, I mean, I know we do, but we keep the dogs on the side yard, which is awesome because they're small. But if you have that infill, do you just hose it out to clean it then? And you don't have to use anything extra?
Right. So if your pets are going on the area, yeah, you just pick up the poop or spray down like the areas that they're urinating, and it should be totally fine.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've had customers who we've installed grassware at least 6 years ago that we still see regularly, and their pets use the area constantly for, going to the bathroom, and no odor issues whatsoever with that product.
That's awesome, because unfortunately I have the problem, because I have the old one, and who knows, like they had pets before I bought the place, you know what I mean? So who knows what happened out there. I think we must have that spray you suggested, because every once in a while I see my husband out there spraying something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So good to know that it's not a huge problem and it's anymore. And it's, as long as you do it right. And it's not a huge problem for you, right, JD?
No, I mean, my mother-in-law's dog went out there a couple of times, and we haven't smelt anything, so it's been fine. The grass quality is really good too, because it's really thick. That's one objection that I get a lot with like new build buyers that want to do their backyard is like, they're like, turf is so expensive, but it's totally worth it. Like, you don't have to cut it, you don't have to do anything, and I wouldn't cheap out on it either, because then you'd end up with a little flat grass.
Well, and you'd end up dealing with it again. And I totally agree with you. Like, a lot of people don't think about the maintenance costs of things. They just think about the lump sum, right? But now think about it. Now you don't have to regularly service that. You don't have to seed it, in the summer, winter, deal with all of that stuff. I mean, time is money.
Oh,
So.
for sure.
Now, what about another problem that unfortunately mine has is it's a little warm in the summertime, when it's like 100 bazillion outside and sun's been beating down on it all day. Yeah, you don't want to walk on my grass without shoes. Is that common now, or have things changed, Erika?
That's still going to be an issue. The
Really?
synthetic, yes, it's hot. It's going to be about 15 to 20 degrees hotter than the outside temperature. So walking on it in the middle of summer is not a good idea. What really helps is shade. So if you install some sail shades, or even just have some trees, shady plants around the area, that helps immensely. For our grass, we've had at 2 different houses now. Any area that's been shaded, I've been able to walk on barefoot in the middle of summer, but hopping over to the area that's in direct sun, no way. So the shade definitely helps. Also, wetting it down can help with a hose. Like if you want to send the kids out to play in the summer and they want their shoes off, just wet it down. Or we can even install some manual sprinklers where you just turn on a ball valve, wet it down real quick, turn it off, and then, good to play on the area. I know there are some turf manufacturers that are advertising, cooler type of turf that doesn't get as hot. But we've had some reviews on those, and what we found is it might work in other areas of the country, but in Arizona, where it's so darn hot here, there's nothing that's really going to stop that from getting so hot.
It is tough here. Isn't that why they bring, JD, you know this because it used to be by your house. Isn't that why they do like the GM proving grounds? Like that's why they bring all the cars here to test them out in the heat, because
it's so hot. Yeah.
No other place in the country that is quite as hot.
Like I'm wondering why they have like the seat heaters here.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, personally, I need that in the winter. But it's true. Now that you say that, Erika, you've been in my backyard. So I have a sail that kind of shades a bit of the grass, and a tree that shades a bit of it. Most of it is out in the sun. But you're right. I have realized that you can step on that part. Not that I don't have shoes on walking out there anyway, because I mean, I'm not going to walk on the concrete with bare feet at 130 or whatever it is. But yeah, but good advice. And those sail shades are awesome. They're like super cool. You know, really, really help prolong the amount of time that you can spend outside in the summer here. So I have them too. I love those as well. All right, next question. So speaking of grass, some people don't want to do the artificial. Some people are like, no, I want the real stuff. This is just what I grew up with. It's what I want. I love the smell of it when I cut it, right? Love that. So tell us a little bit about grass. What kind of grass do we have here, first of all? Do you know that?
Typically, we're going to have Bermuda grass here. And that's weather grass.
Got you. Okay. But that's not all year round, or that's just in the summer, the Bermuda?
Right. It's just in the summer. So it's because it's a warm weather grass, it does go dormant when the temperatures start to drop. So in the winter, if you want to keep your grass lawn green all year round, you overseed with a perennial ryegrass, which is a cold season grass. And that you have to, if you want, you know, green grass every winter, you're going to have to do that every single winter, is scalp back your Bermuda lawn and overseed with winter rye. And then as the temperatures start warming up again in about April-ish is when that rye will die back and your Bermuda will start to regrow.
So does scalping mean just cut it as like short as possible and just remove as much as possible, or am I right?
Right. So typically you want to lower your mower height pretty darn low to scalp out that Bermuda grass. And the reason is because you want to expose that soil to get those seeds deep down in there. You don't want the seed to just sit on top of that carpet of Bermuda grass. You need it down at the soil level so that it can germinate. So cutting it down really short and then applying your seed, putting some topper on it, and then setting your irrigation timer.
And so what time of year is best to do this? Because there's a certain time, and if you miss that window, like you can't do it, right?
Right. So beginning of October to about the end of November is the best time to do it. That's when the temperatures start to drop low enough at night to at least be around 50 to 55 degrees is when you can start the season. Once you're into December and like January, it's too cold. The frost is going to destroy that seed and it won't germinate.
Got you. Previous house, I had real grass and we did this, and I don't know, my husband took care of it. But so I remember though, it was really messy for me anyway. Maybe it's just my particular house or whatever, because we had to water it so much. It was just muddy all the time. So then my dog would go out and do you ever do like a slip and slide when you were a kid? Like, you know what I'm talking about? You get on and you like slide down in the water. My dog would do that, like slip and slide all across the grass. It was awful. She's 70 pounds, just huge. And then she'd come in the house with all that. But anyway, is that typical, or was I just crazy?
It shouldn't be that muddy, but yes, it is messy. So with all that seed and topper, it's going to look a mess for at least a few weeks. So try not to plan any like get-togethers or events in your yard during that time. That topper is going to keep getting wet and it is going to get a little bit muddy, but it shouldn't be too bad. We ask our customers to try their best to keep off of the area for about 2 weeks. And I know that's super hard when you have kids and pets, but it really helps with that seed to germinate, and then also keeps you sane with not getting your entire house filthy with your kids and dogs running around in it.
Yeah, no kidding, because it was a little bit nuts for me. Maybe I should have kept her off, but well, anyway.
I have a question about winter grass. So something in Eastmark that they're doing with the big parks is that they're skipping this year for overseeding because they said it helps the grass last longer. Is that true?
I haven't heard that it helps the grass last longer, but I think probably what's going on is maybe there's like a thick thatch in that grass, and so disturbing it maybe is what they're talking about.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
So that's the ryegrass. So when is a good time to plant Bermuda? And is it the same sort of thing? Do you have to scalp it down, stay off the grass for a couple of weeks, water it like crazy?
No, so their Bermuda is so much easier. So once you've overseeded with winter rye and it's been growing, all you really need to do is just wait until the weather warms up and that Bermuda is going to start growing back again. Um, so that's typically going to be between March and May when the nighttime temperatures are at least 60 degrees consecutively for consistent amount of time. That Bermuda is just going to start growing back. If it's taking longer than you expected, you could lower the mower height of your mower and kind of try to cut some more of that rye out and then add like a nitrogen fertilizer. Bermuda loves nitrogen, so that would help it to come back as well. But it should just come back on its own.
Oh, nice. Well, that is easy. Thank you, Bermuda. So next question, and I'm almost done, Erika. I'm like peppering all these questions at you. You're so awesome for taking it so well. So my backyard, again, has some, I hope I'm saying the right plant, but you'll correct me, has some oleander.
Right.
And one day we were out hanging out and it was COVID. So it's just every day we were out hanging out. And my son came over with like a half-bitten leaf. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did you get that off the oleander? And he's like, yeah, and my mouth is burning. Yeah, because it's poisonous, kid. So am I right? It is oleander, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Are there any other plants that are poisonous that you know of that are poisonous to kids and pets that we often have in our backyard that our mamas and papas should be concerned about?
So one that I see a lot around the valley is the desert bird of paradise. It's a big green bushy plant with like orange and red colored flowers. That one, the seeds and the pods on that one are poisonous. So you don't want your pets and kids around that. There's a succulent that's really beautiful. Unfortunately, it is toxic. The sap inside of it is, and it's called fire stick. It looks kind of like the lady slipper, but it has these really beautiful red tips on it. It does need to be trimmed. So that's kind of a hazard if you're trimming it and that sap is toxic.
I have one of those plants in my backyard too. I have the not kid-friendly, not pet-friendly backyard with kids and pets. Sweet.
You're like, no, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there either.
Exactly. So I called poison control because I thought, well, that's what you do, right? You call poison control, and they were just like, well, just watch him. If he starts to get sick and stuff like that, have him rinse his mouth out a bunch because it was like burning his lips. And so we did that, washed out his mouth and, gave him a whole bunch of water, and he ended up being totally fine. I think he just it can't taste good, right? So I think he just nibbled it a little bit. But still, he was 4.5 at the time, what if a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old or something got a hold of that? Who knows how much they would eat? So good for parents to know. And especially people like me who moved from another part of the country, we don't have that kind of stuff in New Hampshire. I don't think we have poison ivy. That's it. But we don't plant poison ivy in our front yard, so something to look out for. Okay. Last question. I promise, Erika. There are, especially with what's been going on this year, I've noticed it's kind of kicked up a little bit. Although I feel like having a personal garden and kind of, growing your own food and that kind of thing has been cool for the last couple of years. But I'm seeing a lot more people do it. A lot more people are building gardens at their homes, greenhouses, things like that. So I'm assuming you can have a veggie garden in Arizona all year around, or is summer just a no-go?
No, you can definitely have a veggie garden all year round here. There's some, you kind of want to take a look at your yard and see, where do I want to plant these veggies, because you don't want it to be in an area where it's going to get afternoon sun in the middle of summer. That's going to be really hard on those plants. They're probably not going to survive. So just pick a spot that's, going to get morning sun, afternoon shade. If you can't really plan it that way, at least install a sail shade. I know I really love sail shades, but if you install a sail shade, it's still getting full sun. Like most veggies are supposed to get full sun, but it's filtered sun. So it's not going to be as powerful as just, raw, naked sun shining on it all day.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. So morning sun's best. Keep the afternoon sun out of your garden bed or out of your garden. Got it. What kinds of veggies do well here?
So a lot of herbs do really well here. Basil is really great. Try to keep it in a pot or it will overtake the area. It grows wildly. So that tomatoes do really great, especially cherry tomatoes. Pumpkins, really any kind of squash or bean. Watermelons do great. Green beans, snow peas do really good in the cooler temperatures here. So snow peas and like lettuce, spinach, cabbage, all of those like leafy green type veggies do really great in the cool season.
Awesome. Good to know. So working with Top Notch, if somebody were to want to do that, obviously you do, plant install, you do the artificial grass, do the real grass, like we talked about. Do you plant gardens too, veggie gardens?
We do. We can. Most people like us to build the planter and fill it with the soil, and then they like to plant their own veggies, but we can absolutely do that if that's what somebody wanted, was for us to plant it.
Awesome. So what am I missing with my list of things that you cover?
So yeah, we do. Honestly, we do almost anything you can think of in the landscaping realm other than pouring concrete. We don't climb palms over 20 feet for trimming them. If they're 20 feet or under, we can do that. But honestly, anything else in landscaping, we can do pavers, travertine, flagstone, synthetic grass, irrigation, tree care, planting, design, built-in barbecues, all of that. So really, honestly, it's a wide variety.
Yeah, totally. And John is actually, as you know, at my house today working on pavers. So that's awesome. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And JD, I don't think I told you this, but they just replaced my drip system in my house. And what happened is I was getting kind of a high water bill. And like the first year I was like, oh, it's been hot. And I didn't think, the first month I'm like, it's been hot. I didn't really think much of it, but then it was consistent. And so we realized, and I think not a lot of people think of that like right away. We realized, hey, our drip system, because our house is built in the 90s, is probably pretty old, probably needs done at this point, and sure enough, we had some issues and we had been sprouting leaks here and there too. So it just needed to be all redone. And so John's been at my house a little bit over the last couple of weeks. Awesome, Erika. Well, thank you so much for your time. And thank you, New Build Ninja. Erika, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, if they have questions, can they contact you?
Absolutely. So our website is topnotchlandscapingllc.com. Our Facebook page is Top Notch Landscaping LLC, and my phone number is 520-400-8151.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. Well, everybody, this concludes this episode of R.E.A.L with Matt and Katie. And do us a favor, go to whatever podcast platform that you love to listen to your podcasts on. So maybe it's iTunes, or if you're our buddy Jenny, it's Google Podcasts, because she's green. She's an Android user, but that's okay. We still love her. But please do us a favor and download the episodes. It doesn't count unless you download them. Yes, we want you to listen to them too, but please set them to download. Subscribe to us, rate, review. We would really appreciate that. Thank you all so much, and I hope you have an awesome day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.